The Dusty Tag Team Classic Tournament semifinal set in stone. Pete Dunne returns at the end of the show. And by all means, we do have a new contender for the North American NXT Championship being Cameron Grimes, because that man is on his way to the moon. I am your host, Real Adam Anthony James Martin, the straight shoot in a suit. One of a kind and oh so fine, baby. This is Wrestling Never Sleeps weekly review of NXT 2.0. Tag team action kicks off this week's NXT 2.0 with an electrifying match between MSK and Kushida and Ike Miniero. What a match it was indeed. Could have been the finals of the tournament itself for the Dusty Tag Team Classic, but here we are, the quarterfinals. The semifinals are set in stone now. MSK with the win. We have Wes Lee and of course Nash Carter, a phenomenal tag team that has grown within the NXT universe. A team that has established themselves as being the top team in NXT despite not having the gold. Obviously that's Imperium. We'll get to them a little bit later on, but what a match to kick off the show. The fans were in love with this. They were lively. They were excited. They were, you could feel the electricity in the building when this match kicked off from start to finish. I was a little disappointed in the fact that this wasn't the finals of the match of the tournament, but we have some cool matchups, some great matchups to look forward to. Obviously I think they're preparing this for Vengeance Day, February 15th, for the finals to take place. But nonetheless, excellent way to kick off NXT, and I was very, very impressed with the performance by all four competitors. Like I said, MSK, Lee and Carter, fantastic together. The chemistry is great, and that's what I like to see tag team wrestling as. Not just two random guys put together and forming a team that we've seen in the past, not only in WWE, but other organizations as well, and it just doesn't jive as well. Good classic tag team wrestling, hot tags involved, and a fantastic finish. Nothing that I complain about, other than the fact that it wasn't in the finals. It was just highly entertaining, and again, I look forward to seeing MSK advance to the semifinals, and of course, they have a matchup with the underdogs. Anofi and his partner Blade, who upset last week and advanced to the semifinals, is now set to take on a team like MSK, so they really got to bring up their game from here to here. They cannot wishful think, that they're going to slide on by through this tournament and make it to the finals. They got a tough task at hand, and of course, MSK better not take this team lightly. If they do, we know what happens. We could see what happens. Blade and Anofi will advance if that is the case. Now, moving along, speaking of championships, obviously the Dusty Tag Team Classic winners will get a tag team championship, but a man on his own will, his own time, decided to take a shot at NXT World Champion Braun Breaker, the face of NXT 2.0. That man is Santos Escobar, the leader of Legado del Fantasma, a stable that I really like. I like Escobar as a top heel within NXT 2.0, and I think he's making his point well proven that he strictly wants the NXT World Championship, and he wants to take it from Braun Breaker on his own time. Jealousy, simplicity, I love the storyline. I love the way that they're doing this and building it up, and they're making us wait as a fan to watch. We're not going to get to see Breaker touch Escobar. He's got his two lackeys there to take the brunt of the bumps leading up to their official contact within a match. And of course, when it does happen, it will be for the NXT Championship. Great promo from Braun Breaker, aka Steiner. The guy, like I said last week and the week before, anytime that we see him on TV, he is the face of NXT 2.0 and a guy that I look forward to seeing week by week grow and develop into the star that he is going to become, just like his uncle, just like his dad. Crowd control, the look, the way he talks. He even has that Steiner kind of sound to him when he gets hyped up. It's really exciting to see his growth, and I can't wait to see these two guys get it on potentially at Vengeance Day, February 15th. Moving forward, we had a no DQ Falls Count Anywhere match on this card. It was a build-up from last week, or at least a couple weeks ago as well. It's been slowly building up with Solo Sikoa and, of course, Boa. The interesting storyline, one that I'm particularly not into in the way that they've done it. You have two tough guys, two talented athletes, one possessing magical powers. Is that the right time for this day and age, for wrestlers to be holding magical powers or a sense of that ability to have something special within them? Not my cup of tea. It's a little naive as a fan to be, okay, I believe this. It's non-believable. But nonetheless, two talented athletes getting in the ring in a no DQ Falls Count Anywhere match on NXT 2.0. This day and age, this does not happen. This is a family-oriented show. It seems to be going in the direction of, trying to attract a younger audience than WWE is normally used to, which I have no problem with. So this was a little bit out of the element. The placement on the card itself, I think, for this match was a little bit out of place as well. But nonetheless, here we are. We have a man wanting revenge who's related to the Usos. So, of course, the fans are chanting, Uso, Uso, all throughout the match. A little bit of brawling backstage, weapons, chairs, no fireball this week, which was kind of cool. They kept it a one-time thing to set up for this match, but again, a lot of violence, something that we're not normally used to seeing in this day and age for NXT 2.0, the new branded version of NXT. But nonetheless, the right man won, stayed undefeated. Sikoa defeats Boa, in dramatic fashion. The splash off the top rope to the floor through a table is what definitely should finish a match. If you're going to hit that spot, in my opinion, just shooting here, that should end a match. The match should not continue once someone goes through a table. Otherwise, you devalue the purpose and the damage that table and that floor and that spot has on the opponent. And not only to the opponent, but the man giving the move. Sikoa's really good at selling. So nothing against him in that aspect. Boa, I think, still has a little bit to learn. But nonetheless, a good match, a good break from the normal on NXT 2.0. The only thing I would have changed was the placement on where this match took place on the card. As I said, Sikoa, there's a lot of potential here. He stayed undefeated. I'm interested to see where they take this to the next level for him. I think he's ready. He's just a brute guy. Doesn't wear the boots. He's got the tape. He's got the fighter shorts on. He just looks like a real legit badass. Perfect type of match for him. Surprisingly, Boa fit in well with this kind of gimmick as well. So, like I said, the right man won. And I'm very, very interested to see where Solo Sikoa goes from here. Whether they keep him with a storyline with Boa or, if he gets to move up the ladder and potentially challenge bigger names, I guess, in the NXT universe. So, with that being said, speaking of big men, bigger names, we have the artist formerly known as Walter, now renamed Gunther, shoot a promo with a top faction in NXT 2.0. That is Imperium, the tag team champs, alongside Walter, potentially in my mind, the number one threat for world champion or NXT champion Braun Breaker somewhere down the line. But they do address the name change, and they do it in a way that, I didn't have a problem with it. It carried throughout the whole theme of the evening whenever he was referenced, and it didn't bother me. And I'll tell you why. They established it in the right way. They said, hey, we acknowledge your concern, but we're moving on from this. We're putting the superstars' priorities first in the ring and not outside with all the mumbo jumbo and the fan thoughts. So to me, this was something that was special. It was different. It was a good way of going about it and, pushing Gunther forward to his next challenge within the NXT universe and ring. Like I said, number one threat for Braun Breaker somewhere down the road. I like his style. He's real, and that's all he's doing. He's just being himself now, and he explained that in the promo with Imperium. Now, there was a squash match. Duke Hudson. He's a big man. He looks legit. He looks like a real badass. And he proved that tonight. He fought a guy by the name of Guru Raj. He's someone that I'm not too familiar with. But again, the purpose was there. Duke Hudson made his return last week, attacking Chen, injuring Chen, making a statement that he's back and he's ready for a fight. Essentially, then that's what happened. He gave Guru Raj a tough challenge, going over via pinfall. Duke Hudson made his point. He's a savage in the ring, and he's looking to get revenge on Chen. He wants Chen really bad. He wants to injure him. He wants to put him out. And we saw that again when Chen came down after the match, tried to make a statement of his own, but again got caught up with emotion. And Hudson capitalized with attacking the knee. So that storyline is on the back burner, I believe, in the NXT 2.0 universe. But it is something to keep an eye on because Duke Hudson, potentially, again, in my mind, could be a top heel within this organization within the year. My next point in the show, NXT 2.0. Fine booking when it comes to all the gold for the women's divisions on the program. Six women tag team match. The NXT Women's Champion Mandy Rose. The tag team champions, we have Dunne and JC Jane versus Indy Hartwell, Kay Ray Lee, and of course, Perota. All three women on the opposite side want all that gold that Toxic Attraction have. Top female faction in all of wrestling right now, in my opinion. They draw you in. They make you become a fan, even though they're supposed to be heels. I love the attitude. I love the way they conduct themselves in the ring. And I like even how they lose, which was the case this week in this match. They just did themselves a favor by keeping themselves relevant and keeping interest on them when it comes to the booking. Especially with Vengeance Day, February 15th, coming up real soon. They need challengers, and they just found them after tonight. Despite the loss, they still stay strong. There's a good chance that they might lose their championships, but there's an even better chance that they will all retain. If NXT 2.0 gives up these titles, there's no more chase. And when I mean chase, the challengers are running really thin. The women's division in NXT 2.0 isn't that strong at the moment, per se, in terms of volume or bodies. But what they do right now is an interesting factor. They have 6 women involved in 3 versus 3 feud and match tonight specifically. They need title challengers. They need to build new stars in the women's division before they go off to the main rosters, which we know is going to happen eventually. But as for now, for the new rebranding, for the value in these women's championships for NXT 2.0, this is what needed to happen. They needed to lose in the 6 women's tag team match tonight to set up for Vengeance Day and to set up the glory matches that we want to see on premium live events. It makes sense. I like the way that this finished. I like the direction that they're going in with the women's division. They're getting everybody involved, and they're doing it smart. Would I like to see other names like Io Shirai, who we're going to talk about a little bit later on, in that world title picture? Yes. Raquel Gonzalez? Yes. The females Dusty Classic tag team tournament's coming up real soon, so they're a little preoccupied, but as of right now, they're doing it right. They're adding in the right names, they're filling in the spots, and they're building new stars on both sides, win or lose. My opinion, Toxic Attraction cannot lose those titles on Vengeance Day if that's the way that they're going to go, if they are defending. But it's a nice try to make us think that potentially they could lose their titles. Speaking of tag team action, the second match in the quarterfinals of the men's Dusty Tag Team Classic tournament continued on for us. It was the grizzled young veterans versus Andre Chase and Bodie Hayward. Now these two guys, Hayward and Chase, one looks like the son of Dirk Nowinski, and the other one looks like Billy Gunn, not on roids. No offense, Billy, but you're pretty jacked. Not saying that you are on roids, but interesting tag team. Weird gimmick, the whole university thing. I'm not into it. We have the Alpha Academy. We don't need this. But other than that, it was a really good tag team match. It was different than the first match that we saw on the first match of the night. and kept a really good flow. Again, a proper hot tag was placed at the right time. Within the match, it didn't go too long, and again, the right team won. It put the losers over, being Hayward and Chase. And there's another story with those two guys, but we're not quite there yet because the grizzled young veterans are, the other team that I'd like to see go into the finals this year for this Dusty Tag Team Classic tournament. Potentially against MSK, which would be a phenomenal finale as well. To close out the tournament, two great tag teams competing for the chance to fight Imperium for the NXT tag team titles. It's going to be great. But we're not there yet. What we did see tonight was a wicked finish by the Grizzled Young Vets, another great performance, a team that I'm really, really high on. At first, I was not really into them, but at the same time, they grew on me. And they continue to grow on me week by week by week, especially now in this tournament. Very satisfied with the way it finished. And even though the Grizzled Young Veterans, the attention was kind of taken off of them and their victory and their advancement within this tournament. Because, unlike last week, we haven't had any run-ins essentially yet. We finally have our first. Rob Wagner comes out of nowhere. Starts beating down Bodie Hayward out of nowhere. I'm not really too familiar with the storyline here, but I'm excited to see where it goes because the man that joined Rob Wagner is a man that I'm a big fan of. We dress similar, we talk similar, we're just as smart as each other, and that man is Robert Stone. Great manager. He's got the look. He's representing the right client now. This is big things for Rob Wagner, and I'm excited to see where he goes from here on out, especially with this whole thing, because I do believe if I had to pick one or the other between Andre Chase and Bodie Hayward, I would pick Hayward to be the star of the tag team. The Shawn Michaels, if you might. And Rob Wagner just put himself in a really good position around really good company and a manager like Robert Stone. So that's interesting to me. It might have seemed random at the time, but I'm sure seeds will be planted in the next few weeks leading up to Vengeance Day, explaining a little bit more between their relationship, why Rob Wagner did what he did, and of course, the man's got a look, he's got an attitude, another top heel that they could be building to potentially face Braun Breaker later down the road. And that's something Robert Stone could do. Put in place for his client because he is that good. Main event time though. One that I was excited for. One that I've been waiting for. Because either matchup against Carmelo Hayes, the NXT North American champion, would have been fine for me on Vengeance Day, February 15th. But Cameron Grimes does not lie when he says he's going straight to the moon, baby. And he's not taking it via SpaceX. He's not going with Elon Musk to Mars or wherever he wants to go. He's doing it all on his own, week by week by week by week, by staying undefeated in the year 2022. And he continued that trend tonight, earning himself, claiming to be that number one contender for the North American NXT Championship. A great matchup. Cameron Grimes has always impressed me, win or lose. He had the feud with LA Knight. I brought it up many times before. It got him over essentially to work with a veteran like LA Knight and, get himself in comfortable going off on his own and doing bigger and better things, which he seems to be doing, and that may be North American NXT Championship gold in his near future. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for Vengeance Day. I'm excited to see where all this new, young, fresh talent in NXT 2.0 go. Week by week, event by event, storyline by storyline, feud by feud. It's exciting for me. It's not the same old typical SmackDown or Raw. It's not this off-brand that we see on the other channel every Wednesday. It's a rebuild, a restructure, something that I really look forward to, and something I can't wait to see blossom into potentially what WWE wants this to be. Last but not least, at the end of this match, this was the most intriguing part. We were speaking of interference earlier before. Well, it happens again. The return of Pete Dunne. Now, as you may know, there was a crowbar match a couple weeks ago between Tony D'Angelo and Pete Dunne got cracked. Right across the chest, right across the chest. D'Angelo got the win. Big things for him. But Pete Dunne's looking for revenge. He did not forget. And now that we know Tony D'Angelo is not the new number one contender for the North American NXT Championship, this opens up an opportunity to create a nice, fun match for Vengeance Day. Pete Dunne, Tony D'Angelo, the rematch. The revenge of Pete Dunne should be significantly brutal, entertaining for us, not so much for Tony D'Angelo. Either way, fun match. There might even be a stipulation added. I'm not sure. If there is, what stipulation would you like to see? Because they're building up to it. Now, before we go off air here with your host, the real straight shoot in a suit, Adam Anthony James Martin, at the end of the show, there was a challenge earlier made by Legado del Fantasma. Tag team action. They challenged Braun Breaker to find a partner because they felt like nobody liked him in the back. He might have just found a partner. The man that he took the NXT World Championship from, Tommaso Ciampa. And what a match that would be. Next week on NXT 2.0, you can catch it all here on Wrestling Never Sleeps with me, myself, and I. Real Adam Anthony James Martin. The straight shoot in a suit. Often imitated, never duplicated. Also fine and one of a kind, baby. Bada bing, bada boom. NXT 2.0 review. Wrestling Never Sleeps.